This is Jason's Electronics Repair. Welcome to my ER. Hello, everyone, and how is everyone doing today? I want to talk to you guys about starting out in electronics repair. This is going to be geared more towards the Nintendo Switch, but the principles and the information it will work on multiple different consoles and computers, GPUs, different things like that. And it was brought to my attention that not brought to my attention. I know this from experience starting out, and coming from an industry where we manufactured things. I would have access to all the parts I needed. Big giant wall of components and bins all properly labeled, and I just grabbed the component or part I needed and move on forward. Currently, for Nintendo Switches, Xboxes, PlayStation 4s, I have a wall of drawers that have common components that fail: resistors, capacitors, retimers, ports, all that stuff. I have bins like so. This is full of Nintendo Switch parts. I know it's a little washed out, I'm sorry. Full of Nintendo Switch parts. I have another one that has PlayStation 4, Xbox, One, S, X, some Series X stuff. And then I have other components, like, let's take, for example, one of these component books here. I have a bookshelf of these component books. It's written in Chinese, so I label it with my own labels there so I see it. But I have these component books. These are 201 resistors. It goes from 0 ohm up to, I believe, 10 megohm. Let me see, tamp that down. There we go. Up to 10 megohm. So I have it in 0201 resistors. If I grab another book just randomly off the shelf, I keep my board holders on it. So I have 1206 capacitors here, just another full book of 1206. And I have 0201, 0603, 0402. There's some 08s, 0805s, capacitors, resistors. Excuse me. You can get it in inductors if you so choose. I'm not in the need of inductors, so I buy those as needed. So those are a great item to, if you're starting out, you lose a component, it pings off, and if you can find out the value, I help people. If someone sends me an email with a photo, the email's in the description below. Links to different things. If you send me an email, if I have the time, I will try to get you a value of a component, and you can find an equivalent on a donor board, or you can go through one of these books and find the component. Friend of the channel, Wayne News Repair UK. If you saw my power supply video that was dedicated to help him out, he knocked off a 0201 resistor, 50 ohm, I believe, and he had difficulty finding it, and he's now got to track down a donor board. If you can get a set of these books, I know if you're not in the US, Amazon is not an option, but you can come in here and 51 ohm resistor, piece of cake, good to go. You can also, if that's not the option, you can get a list of common components, and I keep track of the components I knock off and lose. And I do things like go on DigiKey, like I did recently, and I ordered a bunch of commonly knocked off components. Believe these are all for the Nintendo Switch. I haven't gone through it yet. It just arrived today. But here's 1 microfarad 10 volt capacitors in 0201, 0201, 10,000 picofarad, so that may be 10 microfarad, 100 ohm resistors 0201, 10K resistors 0201, 1 microfarad 0402, some 0 ohm links. They're always good to have for just reasons. If you're when you get more experience in the field, you will find a use for the 0 ohm links. 4.7 microfarad capacitor is very common on the Switch. The 4.7 microfarads do not come in the books that I have. So here's 1 microfarad 0805. Then we have some 0402 4.7s. We have some 2.2 402s. And then we have some 10 microfarad 0805s. And then some more 0 ohm links on the resistors. So again, the 0 ohm links, don't go out and buy them unless you know what they're used for. You don't need to copy what I buy, but those are common components I knock off on a Nintendo Switch. If we look at what we're going to talk about next, this box right here, if I pull out this switchboard here, and I come under the scope, and I switch to the scope, and we look at M92, for example. Zoom out here. If we look at M92, for example, all these components around M92, like these resistors and capacitors, I have replacements in that group for all of those. All these capacitors around BQ, because, you know, they get knocked off. Like I've changed this one, this one, this one, and this one on this particular board. These coils are nice to have. I have these in my component box. Ports, inductors. You can order these inductors if you tend to knock stuff off around the PMICs here. But I have, you know, all these capacitors. I have replacements for connectors. I keep in stock for connectors. This is the area that has the 51 ohm resistor there. These are 0 ohm links here. So if you knock one of these off, that's a 0 ohm link. There are also 0 ohm links around BQ here. Quite a few of these are 0 ohm links. I can't tell you the exact which ones are 0 ohm links. I do have documentation on my community page telling you what those resistors are. So, but you know, 0 ohm links are good for situations like that. So, yeah, so it's good to have the common components. That order right there, I think, cost me $30, and there's at least 25 of each. Some there's hundreds of. So the little batch of components like that, the little components you tend to knock off, they're cheap. If you order them just as individuals, or you can order the books and then you can have them for many different things like Xbox, PlayStation, all that good stuff. But we're going to move on to the Switch specifically, because the PlayStation and Xbox is a little bit different. You need a lot more stuff and a lot more space to consolidate it, and I'm not going to put all that on the bench today. But when you're starting out and you have a board and say it boots, you know, it boots, you put your custom battery cable on there and you boot it from the power supply, and you get a boot signal, but you put it to the screen and housing it came with, and it shorts out, it doesn't display and all that. Well, this is where this box comes in. This is my box of test parts. It was originally a Switch that came in for repair. Everything in this box is known good. It works. It's all been taken apart for testing. I have a working board in here to test housings to see if everything works in the housing. I have Joy-Con rails. I have Joy-Con boards because I've been working on that, and I just threw the board in here. Many SD cards, Wi-Fi antennas, batteries for the Joy-Con. I have a Switch battery that backup, power cables, and then if you look in here, I have a known good housing. This housing is good. It's got a good digitizer. It's got a good stream. It does have a Wi-Fi, Joy-Con rails, all that stuff, but like I said, this is a test housing. It's good to have a test housing. So that is that. I also have a screen and digitizer there that I can test outside of the housing. So that is also good to have. So I have a screen and digitizer for testing outside of the unit. I have one for inside the housing. Taking apart Joy-Con. Mainly that was taken apart because I was fixing a Joy-Con. Normally I don't keep that in here, but now that I come across that needing that, I keep it in this box. So this box is great. You can, if you live in the U.S., you can get these boxes around school time, which is now for $1 at Walmart. My wife picks these up. They're fantastic. You can label them with the customer information. Labels peel off easy. It's got a little compartment up here for the smaller stuff, and it's got a compartment down here for the smaller stuff. It will fit a switch in both Joy-Cons if you angle it correctly. So this is what I do for known good parts. Now, how did I come across this? Did I buy a brand new switch and just take it apart and throw all the stuff in a bin? No, I didn't. I had purchased a bunch of switches for $100 US, about 73 pounds, and I was able to fix some. I was able not to fix some. The ones that were unable to fix that become donor boards, I save them. I do not get rid of my donor boards, and I put the working components in that bin for test. And then I came across this board here, 1008. If you watch the videos, there's a few videos on it. It was severely liquid damaged on just about every connector. It was heavily corroded, and I was able to get it working. It had to have BQ, it had to have M92, P13, a Max IC, one of the Max IC DC buck converters down here. It needed a lot of work. I believe it had fuel gauge. The fuel gauge chip changed on it. Excuse me. I reworked the anti-piracy chip, and I got this board working. And when I got it, it was so severely liquid damaged that the game card reader was destroyed, the LCD was destroyed, the digitizer didn't work, the housing was bent, the battery was swollen, and so the only thing that was able to be saved from this particular switch that I purchased for $100 was the board. I got the board working. So my options were to build a new switch, which would have cost too much in parts and I wouldn't have made any money on it at all. Sell the board only and break even, maybe make $10, or keep it as a known good board for testing things. And I chose to keep it as a known good board for testing things. I know that that seems like a gigantic waste of money, but having this box here, not this board in particular, has helped me fix boards, but this box itself has allowed me to fix 15 plus switches, at least 15 switches. I've only had the box completed for about a month and a half. So the last 15 plus switches, some of them were no fix and I couldn't fix them, but I did use some of the parts to test it from this. I didn't count those in the 15. I just counted the 15 I was able to fix. And this little setup here, this deconstructed switch, as you would say, has done wonders for allowing me to work on Nintendo Switches without having to order parts, track down parts. I have everything to test, so when I fix a board, I know it's 100% working if I test it with those components. And then if it doesn't work in their housing, it could be the LCD, it could be things that has allowed me to work faster, move faster, and get things done faster. I don't have to hunt for things. This box, I just reach for it, and it sits off to the side next to my component books and my board holders, and it has saved so much time. But that's what I wanted to share with you guys today, is keep common stuff in stock. But the most valuable thing is if you are starting out and you get something that is fixable and it was a reasonable rate, hold on to it for known good readings. You know, like if I knock off a component off another board, like if I grab another board that I've been working on forever, this is the first switch I've ever gotten, still haven't fixed it yet. But if I knock off a component, I don't know the value, I can't find the value of it, I can lift it off of that board, test it, measure it, and then put it back on, and then I know what to grab from my component book to put on the replacement board. So it is invaluable. And then over the months, I've only been fixing the Nintendo Switches at a board level since September of 2020. That 1001 was the first one I've ever done. I have about 45 switches. Not sure how many no fixes. I was getting a lot of dead CPUs and blue screens of death for research. So they kind of bloat the numbers of no fixes because of shorted CPUs. But I was trying to track down the shorted CPU and see if it was bypassable or if it was a max IC on the line. It turned out that it's the CPU. So I have a lot of bloated numbers of no fixes because of those two reasons. But majority of the legitimate repairs that don't have shorted CPUs go out as a fix. I get a couple that are boogers, like the 1001 that has all kinds of issues. It now has an active short, which is, yeah, that can be frustrating. Try to avoid that at all cost. But that's going to do it for this video. I hope it helps you guys have the stuff you need on hand. Those component books are fantastic for knocking off a component, asking in communities. The Coder has a Discord channel. You can ask somebody in there. I'm not 100% on there, but if you tag me in it or whatever, the @me, I will try to get back to you during my free time. But again, this is the end of the video. Just wanted to give everybody a quick update on Freddy the Teddy. He says subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video, and become a member to my Patreon to save him more torment. Thank you so much.